Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day to start things off. An enormous tidal wave of bullish news, if you kind of want to call it that, after showing signs of weakness early this week. Bitcoin managed to mount a comeback on Wednesday, rallying 6% to 7150. Within the space of a few hours. It was a rally that liquidated over $10 million worth of short positions, with bulls retaking the ever-important $7,000 level with force. Fortunately, a confluence of fundamental and technical factors indicates that Bitcoin is preparing to embark on yet another leg higher. There isn't a consensus as to where the leg will end, but many are eyeing a Bitcoin price of $9,000 to $10,000 US, all within the next few weeks. Now, let me tell you something. I mentioned before, and this is, I don't know if it's just a pattern, I don't know if it's just life repeating itself, I'm not really sure exactly what it is. But remember a couple days ago when we had all that negative news and I was like, there's going to be a huge spout of positive news that's going to be coming out a couple of days later. I guess this is the spout of positive news. However, regardless of where I look, I'll give you a good 99. I'll give you a good 95% of the articles that I've read out there are indicating or saying that they're expecting Bitcoin to move upwards over the next couple of weeks. There's no exact indication of how many weeks, but I would assume it has something to do with the next 3 weeks, as we are now, is it 20 days away from the halving? I assume this is where a lot of these metrics are coming from. And they're all typically floating around the same exact numbers, and it's anywhere between 9 and 10,000. I haven't seen many 8,700s. I haven't seen many 8,200s or any 7,000 figures. It's always between 9 to 10,000 within the next couple of weeks. According to an April 16th report from crypto and blockchain analytics startup Glassnode. Hold on. I had the volume on my mic up so high, it just sounds like I'm screaming at myself as I'm talking to all of you. According to an April 16th report from crypto and blockchain analytics firm Glassnode, Bitcoin's hash rate has recovered 64% from the lowest day in March, which came a few days after the crash to $3,700 took place. I wish I had bought more. Then the hash rate was at 82 exahashes per second. Now the same metric is just under 130 exahashes per second. Not too far shy of the all-time high of 140 exahashes. The trend was slightly eased by late March's difficulty adjustment of minus 17% for Bitcoin, which has made it easier for miners to find blocks. The other part of why this article in particular believes that there could be another potential benefit for Bitcoin on the 21st of April. The U.S. Senate approved a supplemental stimulus package of $484 billion, adding to the $2 trillion stimuli that had been approved in March. The package is expected to focus on hospitals, testing, and small businesses, with a small business loan program included in the original act having been exhausted. That is terrible. The third part being, it says Bitcoin is in the midst of a textbook bottom pattern. To add a technical component to this bullish confluence, analyst it is NUNYABIZNIZ. Nunya Business recently shared, come on, you gotta laugh at that, shared that Bitcoin's chart from February's high is now formed a classic bar bottom, marked by 3 textbook phrases of a lead-in, a bump, and then a run, suggesting that Bitcoin would trade as high as 10,000 by the start of May, just prior to the block reward halving. There's a huge amount of energy, and this is going to lead to a couple of things. And I'll tell you in the most honest way possible. We are either going to have one of the most euphoric moments in cryptocurrency's history within the next 3 weeks, or we are all going to be completely bummed out in 4 weeks. The amount of articles, the amount of things I'm reading, the amount of things I'm going to show you, the amount of things that are on the internet that are talking about or indicating or saying that people believe that within the next couple of weeks we are going to see either a rally, a huge bump up in price, a huge amount of optimism, bullish movements, whatever words you kind of want to put next to those other words. are monstrous. There are so many articles out there, and I have not even heard whispers. The people who are normally very negative when it comes to Bitcoin's price, I don't hear from them anymore. Or rather, I don't see them around, if you kind of want to say that. At the moment, markets are up. They're not like crazy up, but they still are up. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says IOTA's price moves above 15 cents. Dash gathers momentum and crosses $80 mark after recent plunge. Binance coin price experiences bulls. That's not a statement people use. Reaches over $15.80. It says Ethereum bulls aim big after price smashes crucial resistance. A lot of people assume, even right now, I think Ethereum is up around 4 to 5%. A lot of people think that Ethereum is gearing up for a charge towards $200, specifically because we keep getting news, and we have gotten news, and there's other news that I just didn't decide to put inside of the video because it would have just been a reiteration of what we've gone over. But it appears that Ethereum 2.0 is going to happen in July. So saith the news that we have now. We've also had indications from Vitalik over the last couple of days on Twitter and other social media platforms, or even Reddit, if you kind of want to say that as well, as to the I guess you can say the benefits of what Ethereum 2.0 will bring, how it's going to be. And normally, I'll tell you, historically around this time, if something wasn't going to happen, we would either hear nothing, or we would hear that there may be bumps in the road, which is usually an indication that there's going to be some type of a delay. So Ethereum also looks like it's poised to move higher. This is a very weird situation because we are at just to be honest once again, we are at a very interesting crossroads. With Ethereum, if this does indeed take place, expect a bullish movement upwards. That is kind of the only way I can say this. I can't give you an exact price. I can't give you an exact price prediction. Just understand, if Ethereum 2.0 happens and we have a shift or a hybrid shift to proof of stake, and that requires people to gather or have 32 Ethereum to be able to make their own Ethereum. The numbers that I just saw, I don't know if it's in here, probably not. One of the other things, I think there were indications that the Ethereum proof of stake mining reward could be anywhere between 3 to 5%. While it's not as monstrous as 8%, you also have the idea and the prospect that Ethereum is also being used by multiple countries around the world. Ethereum will probably, maybe, be around for quite some time. That's not to say forever. However, it is looking pretty good that it's going to be around for the next 5 years. So if we end up getting to a point where Ethereum is moving higher, first of all, keeping in mind, Ethereum in 2017 went from $4 to $1,200 in a year. 4 to 1,200. We are currently at 178, 179, 180 before any major bull run has happened, before people are required to lock up 32 Ether, before Ether's issuance rate drops, and before all the other DeFi platforms and all the other stuff who are waiting for the announcements of their news that Ethereum is going to be upgraded and therefore they can allow more transactions per second. None of that news has been released yet, and I can only assume that it is going to be released once Ethereum has been properly upgraded. So this is where we kind of get those, no one knows for certain, but it's kind of where we get those $4,000 per Ethereum numbers being touted or floated around. So the amount of Ethereum news has been staggering. Can I even use that word in this instance? It's been nonstop. We went about a good 6, 7, 8 weeks with no Ethereum news, and all of a sudden, every single day, Ethereum just kind of out there as to bullish price movements, how good things are going to get. I am fascinated to see how this is going to play out for Ethereum. I'm going to move on, but I'm just fascinated to see how this is all going to play out. Like it's been not 6 years. It's been 3 to 4 years in the making. If this goes off without a hitch and we get a $4,000 Ethereum, my gosh. And the last one says EOS's price approaches $2.63, as all cryptocurrencies, if you didn't get the hint, are moving upward in price. Yeah, it's quite fascinating. And I assume it could be a number of things. I wouldn't immediately chalk it up to the fact that Bitcoin's halving is coming. I think that people once again, don't understand the significance of it. However, the other side of it being, we keep seeing stock markets move up. And it could be because countries are on the cusp of or have already begun to announce reopenings, if you will. And therefore, this could be leading to a bunch of bullish sentiment, i.e. that things are going to get back to normal relatively soon. I ask thee not to hold thine breath, as that does not seem very likely. I think we will have an uptick. However, I think normalcy is not in the cards for any time soon. And Bitcoin could just be similarly be responding to that as well, any type of optimism. Therefore, people are more likely to throw their money into risky assets. Anyway, that's all the price news, and that's been going on. And I guess even another price prediction. These are going to be coming out in rapid succession, I think, until at least August. And why do I say August? If we have the halving in May and we have not passed by 9 to 10,000, or we have actually passed by 9 to 10,000 after the halving has happened, you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of stuff, people talking about that Bitcoin is poised to move to 12 to 14,000. We can hit 14,000 is relatively easy. We can hit 15,000. We can hit so and so and so. And so it's just expect a lot of where Bitcoin's price is going to be going news. As I'm sure you feel it, I feel it, my friends feel it, other people who aren't even into crypto also feel it. There's like an electricity in the air surrounding all of this. Like I'm getting a lot of friends asking me. It's a very fascinating time. I'll tell you one thing. I have never had, in such a short amount of time, had so many friends come to me or ask me either should they A, be investing in crypto, B, be investing in stocks, or C, investing in real estate in some sort of way, or even D, doing like some type of like a passive income investing. I'm extremely proud of all my friends. You have no idea. It is nice to hear and have contact with people. I don't want to say who just want to talk about finance, but I like when my friends are thinking about the future. I have a friend who's looking for like multifamily units, another one who's hoping that prices go down in European real estate so that he can start buying up stuff. I have a couple of other friends who are trying to toss money around, some who are trying to buy places in London. It's a very fascinating time to have all of this happen. And I guess people are finally paying attention because I guess once again, a lot of people realize that they could have made bank in 2010, 2011 as prices were down and people started buying things up. Anyway, yeah, that's all the price news, if you will. And let's move on. And it ties directly. I mean, like the news is kind of everywhere out there, directly into what we were just talking about. Next up, a recent Bloomberg report states that Bitcoin is preparing for a massive bull run. Even the report's name is bullish. It's called Bitcoin Maturation Leap. The report mentions a number of reasons that the Bitcoin market is maturing and that it is due for a bull run. It also affirms that Bitcoin is gaining relative fuel as stocks reset, if history is a guide. Furthermore, Bloomberg says that Bitcoin and gold, both considered hedge assets, are witnessing or expected to win. Why am I not reading the correct words? Are expected to win from the most recent 19 market turmoil. They said Bitcoin and gold also stand to be primary beneficiaries of the unprecedented monetary stimulus that's accompanied by a mean reverting stock market. It also observes that Bitcoin's correlation to gold has increased to all-time highs, concluding this year will confirm Bitcoin's transition from a risk-on speculative asset to the crypto market's version of gold. And I ask all of you to please pay attention. Why, once again, would a publication or something as well known as, think of, what's the word? Think of the reputation of Bloomberg as a financial source of information, if you will. Doesn't it seem, the word isn't odd. There's clearly a reason why Bloomberg has released something and continues to release news and or information as to their bullishness of Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is not that old. It's always clear to me that big money behind the scenes has been paying attention for a very long time. I'm going to show you the actual thing that they even made, which is even more confirming in my head as to where all of this is going. There are very rich people behind the scenes, in your face, or cryptocurrency exchanges who are accumulating cryptocurrencies in mass. And this is why I ask you to pay attention. Bloomberg, in its most honest way, Bloomberg is not writing these articles for poor people. I remember years ago, this was years, and when I still used to buy magazines, I think I bought a GQ magazine or something like that. This was obviously years ago. I was taking a flight, and I remember reading the magazine, and this woman sat next to me on the plane, and she was like discussing that she knew one of the people who like put the magazine together. And I was like, yeah, it's weird because like they're like, there are advertisements for Rolex, so and luxury housing, and she's like, yeah, these magazines aren't made for poor people. We kind of forget that sometimes, that certain things are just geared towards a certain group of people, if you will. And we keep seeing indications all the time. It's not once. Like there hasn't been one article since 2017. Constantly, that Bloomberg, Morningstar, and other publications and all the other names I can't even think about at the moment continue to write and make things. Why would they be talking about Bitcoin's move to digital gold? Why put Bitcoin on that pedestal unless you already had a stake in the market, or unless you already believed in it, air quotes, in some sort of way? They know that Bitcoin is going to go up. They know that there's big money to be made in all of this, and this is why they continue making these things. Like normally, can you imagine? No, it doesn't make any sense. Like normally we only get things that the stock market is falling or this thing has fallen, and therefore this is what we should be buying into. How interesting it is that Bitcoin is now part of this narrative as to what rich people should be buying in order to make money as the markets continue to downturn. The report reiterates that 2020 will be the year when Bitcoin becomes digital gold. I repeat. They said this year marks a key test for Bitcoin's transition towards a quasi-currency like gold, and we expect it to pass. According to the Bloomberg report, the inception of Bitcoin futures has tamed the raging Bitcoin bull market. At the same time, it says, increasing futures open interest, declining volatility, and relative outperformance despite the stock market shakeout indicates Bitcoin is maturing from a speculative crypto asset towards a digital version of gold. There was another article, I don't have it up here as well. There was some other analyst who had been in stocks, I think, since like the 70s or 80s or something like that. The things he had to say about Bitcoin were quite fascinating. I don't know why I didn't have it in this video. That's kind of weird now that I even think about it. He kept on saying he had been paying attention to commodities and to futures and to all these other things as 19 ravaged markets. And he said he kept on paying attention over the last year or so before all of this happened. He kept on paying attention to Bitcoin. He said one of the main things that really struck him was that Bitcoin didn't sleep. He said we constantly had situations where markets tumbled, markets fell, stock market had to be shut off, or at a certain time around 4, 5, 6 o'clock, wherever in the world you are, during the day, in the afternoon, the stock markets would close down, people would go home. But he said Bitcoin continued, even after we kept on having, news in the newspapers that, might be a fall down tomorrow, might be a fall so-and-so for the stock market. He said Bitcoin kept on chugging along. He expected at some point, if there was a huge crash in stock markets, that Bitcoin would also completely mimic them as well and completely stay down. But he's like, no, Bitcoin actually recovered. Bitcoin stayed on. Bitcoin didn't have any hiccups. He said, even with 3 to 5 transactions per second. He's like, how fascinating that is that at a time, he's also the actual mitigation of not having a third-party risk was also very fascinating to him. He said he expected years ago as well, when he first heard about Bitcoin, for it to have all these hiccups, all these parties. Of course it needs a third party. Of course there has to be someone behind the scenes moving the gears. And he said during this stock market crash or tumble or recession, whatever word you want to use, he said Bitcoin kind of shined in his eyes as something that clearly is, I don't want to use the word maturing, but I guess it's all over, littered around here as well. But it's coming into its own, and he expects as time goes on for volatility of Bitcoin to further decrease, while prices also don't decrease. Yeah, here's the actual PDF thing. I don't know what you even want to call this, from Bloomberg. Bloomberg Crypto Outlook is called Bitcoin Maturation Leap, and it has a whole bunch of charts. There's no way that I can possibly go through all of this because it's like a bajillion words. But you can kind of look at the screen if you kind of want to do that. Once again, one of the largest places on the planet for people to get their financial news and or financial outlook is now creating something nonstop talking about Bitcoin, how Bitcoin is becoming more mature, how Bitcoin is becoming a safe haven. Like think of the words that they use. Think of who this is geared towards. Think of who the people who have already been buying tons of Bitcoin, and even more things. So it's very important to really understand the idea or the power, if you will, behind owning an entire Bitcoin. Not financial advice. The idea is, I think at the moment, I think there are 50 to 60 millionaires, 50 to 60 million millionaires on the planet. I think that's the number. 7.4 million people. I think it's 50 million millionaires. Don't quote me on the exact number. I don't check the number every single day. I blah, blah. We already know that there are tons of people who own more than one Bitcoin. There are a couple of people who own 10,000, 5,000, 1,000. There are people who are listening right now who may own 15 Bitcoin, 8 Bitcoin, 7 Bitcoin. When you talk about that there's only going to ever be 21 million Bitcoin, there are 18 million mined right now. Anywhere from 4 to 6 million are lost, gone forever. And you out there maybe have an entire Bitcoin, if not more Bitcoin. When other people, or should Bitcoin gain eventually in value? Should Bitcoin one day have a $1 trillion market cap? Should Bitcoin continue showing signs of maturation and or that it is becoming digital gold, and the other millionaires out there or other people who simply don't have an entire Bitcoin decide, hey, I think I also want to invest in that, get me one. Those ones eventually disappear very quick. There aren't enough ones for everyone on the planet. I sent a text to some of my friends. I think 2 of them should be listening. Hello to you too. I think there's only enough. I think it's 0.003 Bitcoin. If you allocated all the Bitcoin and gave that to every single person on the planet, you would only get 0.003. So not even 3% of a Bitcoin, a tenth of 3% of a Bitcoin. Now think of the idea that you maybe have half a Bitcoin. You maybe have an entire Bitcoin. You may have 10 Bitcoin. Your friend may have 100 Bitcoin. That completely decimates the idea that a lot of people will be able to ever have more Bitcoin. And once again, bringing it all back, when you see these articles, when you read these things, when you see who they're geared towards, these are probably geared towards a lot of people who maybe 7, 8,000, 50,000 is nothing to them when it comes to putting it into a market. Imagine at some point these people go, okay, it's fine. I think I want 10 Bitcoin. And they buy up 10 Bitcoin. That's not 10 other people who will never be able to own a Bitcoin. That is hundreds of thousands, 10,000 times. Yeah, that's hundreds of thousands, if not several million people who will never be able to own an entire Bitcoin as well. Always look at who things are for, if you kind of want to say that. All the things that we constantly read about, once again, backtracking as well. Fidelity, now, honestly, Fidelity, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, just going to assume that they probably on a daily basis aren't worried or caring about what the average person is doing with their money. However, they are more than willing to start accepting and or trading and or dealing in and or custodying a digital asset that is only a couple of years old, because they see where the prospect is going. And even more so when we get the news that the people from the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange and backed expect Bitcoin, or think that Bitcoin could be the currency of the internet and or a worldwide currency within the next couple of years. They're not saying that for your friend who has $50 in his bank account. They're saying that for people who are extremely wealthy, to let them know, get a piece of the pie. Think of the significance of Bloomberg creating something like this. Like, this wasn't created, whatever, I have 5 minutes to burn, I'll do this. This is really in-depth talking about the actual future of Bitcoin and where it's going, and it's bullish signals that point that it could one day rival gold. Do you know how powerful gold is? Do you understand how gold has been rising in price because people consider it to be a safe haven asset? Can you imagine if Bitcoin even takes 10% of that narrative, and at some point people go, well, I actually have 90% of my risk portfolio in gold, and I have a good 10% in Bitcoin. Do you understand how much money that would mean that one person has exclusively in Bitcoin? Do you see the signs before your face? They're everywhere. Why would Bloomberg released something stating that they think that Bitcoin is setting up for a 2017 style bull run. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate everyone who pays attention, because the writing is just completely on the wall. It's like, I can't even think of anything funny or witty to say, because it's so blatantly in our face. Anyway, there's the actual PDF once again right here. I mean, I can't wait. I don't want to rush time, but I cannot wait to see what Bitcoin is going to be like in the year 2028. Like, I really cannot. My friend who's into real estate, we were discussing the 0.003 of Bitcoin, and his last message that he sent me before he went to sleep, because there were none after, it was like, I need more Bitcoin. A lot more Bitcoin. It's just, anyway, I mean, yeah, here's the other article talking about it. It says, Bitcoin primed for a massive bull run. Bloomberg analysts. What a time to be alive, everyone. Next up, the Bitcoin network saw one of its biggest adjustments in mining difficulty on the 21st of April. According to data provided by Blockin, the difficulty adjusted upwards by 8.45%, pushing the difficulty to 15.96%. The adjustment took place at a block height of 626,000, increasing mining difficulty implied that more miners are now competing among themselves. The higher the number of miners in the system, the higher the hash rate, and thus higher the mining difficulty on the network. It makes sense. The more people that are there, the more difficult it is. It's like, if you have 1,000 people trying to pick apples, well, clearly it's going to be very difficult to pick apples. It must be noted, however, that the present adjustment following the difficulty drop of almost 16% in March, one of the largest drops in Bitcoins after mining became unprofitable. On the 8th of April, Bitcoin's difficulty was adjusted again, this time upwards by 5.77%. With the last two difficulty adjustments showing an upturn, it can be inferred that miners have been coming back to the network in large numbers. However, there is another difficulty adjustment coming right before the halving scheduled for next month. A lot more people, like I said, there were other coins that had halvings, and it appears that other people have left those networks and have moved towards Bitcoin or back to Bitcoin. These are very good prospects, metrics, fundamentals for the Bitcoin market. Not only does Bitcoin not stop, people leave the mining thing. I can't think of the other word. When the difficulty rises, just to be able to float back into it once it has readjusted, so they can continue mining Bitcoin at an easier rate, number. Yeah, we had news like this about 2 days ago, and it keeps coming back. I almost said coming back to haunt us, but that's not what's happening. It's more like we keep getting more positive news every day that the hash rate is recovering. We have more people on the network. There are a lot more people who are willing to shift their focus exclusively to Bitcoin. This is also fascinating to think about as well. What then happens to Bitcoin? Because we have it's not a race. It's more like a competition, if you will, of people who are either exclusively mining Bitcoin or trying to exclusively mine Ethereum. What happens when Ethereum gets a hybrid proof of stake? Proof of stake becomes a bit more popular. It's a lot easier. You don't have to have all the equipment. Do the people then try to reallocate or remove or switch over their mining power from Ethereum to Bitcoin? I know technologically it's not as easy. I know the different hashes and stuff like that, but I mean, as far as like you know what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, that's the Bitcoin mining news, and let us moving on. Next up, with the first phase of Ethereum 2.0 due to launch within months, some analysts and experts believe it could trigger a major bull run and transform finance as we could know it. Adam Cochran, a partner at Metacartel Ventures DAO and strategy partner at DuckDuckGo, has laid out several arguments for why Ethereum 2.0 could prove to be the largest economic shift in society. He said, or rather in a blog post he said that. While that may be wishful thinking, he's on firmer ground when he suggests that staking could drive an Ethereum supply shock. Cochran believes that dependable staking rewards of 3 to 5% will attract capital from large investors, until around 30% of the total supply is locked up. Ethereum's forthcoming burn mechanism will contribute to the diminishing supply on markets. Cotron theories that supply shock will create a FOMO, buying among retail investors who are not interested in technical analysis and just want in. You'd better believe if we get confirmation. Imagine a situation where right now you need 32 Ethereum to be able to proof of stake mine on the network. And you are guaranteed in some ways a 3 to 5% return. That's just how it is. And also the issuance rate of Ether falls down. And then in some phantasmagorical world, we end up getting a 4,000 per Ether. That is going to send shockwaves not only through the cryptocurrency sector, but also through the main financial sector. Keeping in mind also, once again, I have assumed for quite some time that government workers, government people, governments around the world, we already know that they're going to be using Ethereum. So one can only assume that I assume that the governments building on top of Ethereum probably have at least one Ether, if not like 30, 40,000, if not more for themselves. I say, Cotron theorizes the supply shock FOMO, buying them retailers, just one in. Unlike the 2017 bull run, where getting fiat into an exchange was a major headache, the fear of missing out could be amplified because it's now significantly easier for newcomers to buy crypto with fiat on exchanges like Binance. I said that so many other times before, and I think I started saying it at the beginning or middle or end. I don't remember when it was. 2018, 2019, somewhere around that frame. Said it used to be incredibly difficult. I'm sure a lot of you remember who've been here. You remember those days where you were trying to buy Bitcoin, you were trying to buy XRP, you were trying to buy Ether. XRP wasn't on many exchanges. You had to probably usually just go through Coinbase. It took days to deposit your money from your account onto Coinbase. And even then, if you had money on Coin, it was nonstop. It was very difficult to get into the market. And now we have multiple exchanges that have made it incredibly easy. There are multiple apps, there are multiple websites, there are multiple add-ons to browsers that allow you to also buy through these cryptocurrency exchanges. Imagine this, like 2017 was nuts because of all the capital inflow that was dripping in. There wasn't a tidal wave. It took weeks for all of this money to really be able to push into the market because people were required to use one or two different sites that allowed for fiat deposits that still took a week to be able to put their money on. I remember saying, I said, yeah, I was trying to buy some crypto the other day on Coinbase, and I think if it was a bank transfer or what it was, but I think it took anywhere from 3 to 5 business days. And it's like, okay, you got to sit there and hope that prices don't go higher. Now imagine when it happens instantaneously. Imagine when you have billions of dollars worth of stable coins sitting on the sidelines on cryptocurrency exchanges. What happens when it's no longer a drip that can flow in, but an actual tsunami wave that can completely just gobble up everything in its path because money is very easy to get into the market now. So imagine if the one major thing is that Ethereum 2.0 just has to take place. It just has to work. Everything that comes with it is insane. The lower issuance rate, the 32 Ether, and even more so, like is this somewhere around here? We haven't even gotten to into the idea of the actual, the fact that DeFi, decentralized finance, has taken off with Ethereum at 15 transactions per second. It's completely taken off. We see that there are hundreds of thousands, I don't know the exact number right now, if not over 1 million, I don't know the exact number, of Ether that is locked up inside of DeFi projects right now. And this is with 15 transactions per second. It's insane to think about. He said with no stopgap this time around, that means these users can all FOMO at the same time. All it takes is one crazy MSNBC headline about Ethereum growth to remind them about their Coinbase account, and the retail investors create a flurry. It's such a fascinating time. I don't want to say get angry. I get annoyed about the depressed prices. I get frustrated when prices move up and whales move them back down. At some point, they won't be able to control it. You can only do so much with all of these things, and you won't be able to stop the wave when Bitcoin's reward gets cut in half and the demand even just remains the same. Imagine the other billions of people don't even get into the market, but the same people who are buying every single day continue to buy. Imagine the same situation for Ethereum. Imagine if Ethereum goes above 300 to 400 as it's nearing its growth to Ethereum 2.0. We start hearing more news on MSNBC or CNN or ABC or whatever about you need 32 Ether. The prospects for Ether's price. They start showing charts of where Ethereum was before and how they think that it could go past it. It's all a major. All the pieces are lined up, and I'm just waiting for them to kind of go off at this point. I really do think if we hit a $1,400 Ether, when we still we hit a $1,400 Ether when CryptoKitties clogged the market. Imagine Ether having 5,000 transactions per second. Imagine the issuance rate going down from, was it 2 or 3? I think it's 2. 3? 2. Let's say 2, and I think it's going down to 0.6. So it's going to be more than a halving. Imagine tons of people buying up as much Ether as possible to make this passive income. Imagine Coinbase releasing news and information that they're going to be supporting Ethereum staking. We've seen how popular Tezos is. Tezos is super popular all over the place. Now imagine a name like Ethereum with a guaranteed 3 to 5% locking up your money. Imagine you having enough Ether, the price balloons to a million, not per coin, but cumulatively for what you have. And the 5% you're getting is 50,000 per year in passive income just by you having your money on Coinbase or Binance or somewhere else. It would take off immediately. Immediately. Anyway, that's the that news as far as Ethereum 2.0 staking. I have a feeling this is going to be a very good year. I think it started off terrible. My optimism is at an all-time high, and it actually makes my brain pulsate because I didn't think it could grow anymore. I'm already hyper bullish on the entire, on about 4 or 5 coins within the cryptocurrency market. 3 of them I'm very bullish on. 2 of them I'm hyper bullish on. 1 of them I think is going to do very well. If you know me, you should be able to connect the dots. Anyway, yeah, I mean everything. It's all primed. It's all here. It's just a matter of it happening. Let's move on. And to finish things off, the Central Bank of Argentina is jumping on board the blockchain train for a test run. The central bank announced yesterday that it is trialing a new payment system developed by Bitcoin startup IOV Labs. The system is a proof of concept for a permissioned or private blockchain network, which itself makes use of Bitcoin smart contracts, designed to optimize the way the bank handles payments and claims. The idea for the project, according to IOV Labs, grew out of the framework of the Financial Innovation Roundtable of 2019, which sought the integration of different tech players within Argentina. The goal of the roundtable was to develop proposals to improve payment, collections, and other processes to better serve banking clients. And they talk about the year and who is a part of it. The point is, the Central Bank of Argentina is thinking about potentially using Bitcoin smart contracts for payment, issuance of payment, handling claims. I mean, it's there. I think even me, no, it's there. I think there's nothing more that I should be able to say than telling you how many countries around the world are either using, planning on using, have already used Ethereum or Bitcoin, or building stuff on top of Ethereum and Bitcoin. How many times do we get news like this? Like the Central Bank of Argentina is thinking of using Bitcoin smart contracts. What? Like that's news like this should be propelling Bitcoin's price so much higher. I read an article. I'll see if I can try and find it again. I think it was titled like, people don't understand Bitcoin. Like it wasn't something negative or downplaying Bitcoin. It was simply like people really don't get it. people don't understand the significance of it. Can you imagine the significance of an entire country or a central bank announcing, we like Amazon. We're going to be building Amazon factories here. We're going to be using Amazon. Like, imagine if Amazon had their own blockchain and an entire central bank announced that they were going to be using Amazon's blockchain to track and trade things and payments and stuff that they were going to be sending. Amazon stock would go up, logically. It's very weird. It's all very odd. It is what it is. Me getting angry or screaming or ranting will do nothing to prices, because that's not how the market works. However, yeah, we have news that the Central Bank of Argentina is testing Bitcoin blockchains, or rather testing payments on the Bitcoin blockchain with smart contracts. My goodness, it just doesn't get more obvious. It just doesn't. I mean, it just does not get more obvious. Yeah, I'm done. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Yasha Harari, Moonman High XRP, The Pothead, Joshua Vineyard, Martin Stoyer, Josh Gorsica, Chongololo, Tsongololo, John Sarson, Nostromo, The Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Barebones Mining, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohammed Maroni, Massive Ventures in Thailand, Brady Niels, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroll Network, Adobo, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Nicholas Runner with One Piece, One Love, Damien Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich III, Vlad the Impaler, Crypto and Biz Shipmate Paxis, Nick Mon, Jellavoti, Anthony Charles, Jim Garner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Miller, Hitch Test Every Day, and Kyle Skips Leg Day, Yes to Crypto, Bodemic, Boatface, Anytime Fitness, Monks Corner Staff, Arfmedic17, Bake Me a Cake, Tigger and Machonisa, On Crypto with Lionel, Crayola Michelle, URL, and hold on, I have to sneeze. Thank you all very, very much for your support. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel, and thank you to all of you who have continued using the Amazon or any affiliate link. I always click to see how many clicks. I check to see how many clicks it's gotten. It's absolutely obscene. It's like thousands of you have clicked them. It's kind of nuts. At the moment, also, sorry if I sound, I'm not down today. I woke up like 4 hours ago. It's very early in the morning. My neighbors, for some reason, think it's appropriate to have their phone on the floor, not on silent. And whenever their phone vibrates, I hear the vibration through the floor. And for some reason, they have very active friends who are also not sleeping, who can, I mean, it was like at least 50 text messages that were, I thought it was an alarm. It wasn't an alarm. It was just someone late night texting on the floor. So I'm definitely going to crash in about an hour or two. I need to go to sleep. Anyway, at the moment, I love that I tell you all these things about my life. I'm like, listen, earlier I went to the doctor. So at the moment, Bitcoin is the market's up. There seems to be, I don't even want to use the word resistance. Every time that the market seemingly does well, I know those gigantic whales are trying to push the price down. It just kind of is what it is. All the news, all the positivity, and the bullishness is still there within the market. Ether is up by 3%. I see no reason why it couldn't hit $200 within the next couple of days. Like, honestly, completely 1,000% honestly, Ethereum has been doing very well for itself over the last couple of weeks. I think we were at $130 Ether not too long ago. Tezos is up by 5%. Lumens is up by 10%. The market is geared up and ready to go. I don't know if whales, people, analysts, traders, whatever you want to call them, are simply waiting for a sign. I don't know if they're waiting until we get very close to the halving. I don't know what it could be. However, it is very clear that something is going to happen relatively soon. I would assume that it's not a downward movement in the market, because I'm waiting, you're waiting, everyone else is waiting, everyone keeps thinking that it's going to happen, and at some point it is going to happen. There's going to be a bull run. It's just a matter of, I don't know what the catalyst will be. However, it's definitely going to be something, because we have two insanely large events happening within weeks of each other, and one of them is now less than 3 weeks away. I do hope you all enjoyed. I do hope a lot of you, I know you, you know what? I was going to say, I hope you're all paying attention. I know you are. If you're here, you've been paying attention. You understand exactly what's been going on. You're one of the early adopters who's just kind of waiting for the other people to FOMO into the market so that you can benefit. Just keeping it 100% honest. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.